same comedy?
I'm 25.
All right, how old are you really?
11.
Ah, I love the comedy.
11. 12. 11.
Do you know who Mary and Joseph are?
Yes.
No. Yeah. A little bit.
Do you know who Jesus is?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Do you know how? Do you know why why the country celebrates Christmas?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
What about Easter?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's the day of the resurrection.
All right. Do you know Easter?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah. All right. What about? Do you know how this country started?
I think so.
I don't remember.
All right.
No. No.
Do you know? Have you ever heard of the Civil War before? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Do you know who fought in it?
It was Great Britain.
All right, cool. Great Britain. Do you know? Do you know who fought in the Civil War? Do you know who fought in the Civil War?
No.
No. Okay. Have you? I had another question. um, have you ever heard of Jim Crow or Reconstruction?
I heard the name, but I
You don't
don't
know what it
remember.
is, really? Have you heard of Jim Crow? Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain Jim Crow? No? You can explain. What is Jim Crow?
Segregation.
Segregation. Good. All right. Do you know who Judas is and who he betrayed? Anybody know who Judas is and who he betrayed?
She the smart one.
No. No. Okay. Anybody know the Ten Commandments? Any of them?
No.
You know any of them? Give me a couple.
Don't commit idolatry.
Good.
I forgot that one word, but it's something about don't murder and don't steal.
Don't steal. Don't kill. Good. Good job. All right. What about? Oh, do you know why Dr. Martin Luther King was marching?
Because he did not like the segregation that was happening.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me see. Think. Can you name 5 rappers right now?
Yeah. Jay-Z, XX, Juice, Drake, and Lil Baby.
Can you name any entertainer?
She said
No. Can you name any entertainers? Go ahead.
XX and Juice WRLD. Little Peep and what's his name? Big Lil Baby.
All right. Dang. We'll finish. Can you name any leaders that is not Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X?
Rosa Parks.
Other than Rosa Parks.
Harriet Tubman.
Other than Harriet Tubman.
Oh no. Joshua. Oh no.
No. Can you?
No.
Other than those, because I know y'all get them every year. No.
I forgot her name.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. Happy Thursday. I'm Joseph Ward, back again with Dean Smith, brother Rodney Smith, aka Heavy Hooks, and we here to get heavy again with some heavy conversation, but coming up with some real solutions and real dialogue that can go into our everyday lives, because both of us are active within our communities, within our respective age ranges. Brother Rodney works with middle school. I work with college age children, and this clip leads into our discussion about influences and positive images, the effects of positive images, as well as the effects of negative images. How is the imagery that we see of ourselves on a regular basis, how important is that? How is that influencing us? Is it influencing us to be our best selves? Is it influencing us to go and degrade ourselves? Is it influencing us to want to become better? Is it influencing us to say, hey, why should I try to be better when everything else around me is not better? But we're not just going to concentrate on media influences. We're going to look at communal influences as well, because communal influences are just as important as media influences. So let's go ahead and get right into it. But I want to start with the clip. You know, we got to always start with the clip. So you were asking your students particular questions about the media influences, who are certain people, certain events. They really had no idea about Black people, the history of us, things around them, different people from different historical figures. You know, you asked them about Jesus, you asked them about Judas, you asked them specific questions in that. What made you have this specific dialogue with your children, and what type of answers did you expect them to have?
So we're going over we're reading the novel The Girl Who Drank the Moon, and it's about tradition and how it blinds us to our cultural behaviors because they're tradition. You don't question them. Okay. So I wanted to ask questions to show them that what they know comes from their culture. And if they were in a different culture, they would have different answers. And I also wanted to show that it's not a part of our culture for them to know about Black history. It's not a part of the culture for them to know how the country started or who fought in the Civil War or why they fought. But it is our culture to know who Jesus is. And I had another question that I asked them that I didn't get on the recording, but it was about where humanity started. And, you know, they'll say from the Bible, they'll say God, because, again, that'll show, you know, some of their biggest influences, the religious institution.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to ask those questions, because I wanted them and everybody else in the world to see that institutions play a huge part in what we know and what we believe.
Yes. And I'm glad you used that phrase, institutions, because our community itself is an institution. In every environment that we put our children in, you need to look at it as an institution. Yeah. But you said something interesting. I've never thought about it in the way you said it, but tradition can be blinding. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
So I always use this because Dr. Jared Ball always says this, but if we was to ask a fish, you know, why it's able to survive, the last thing it would say would be the water. Just like for us, we don't think about the atoms and molecules in the air because it's so pervasive and everywhere. But tradition and culture is everything that we do and why we do it. Therefore, why would we have to think about it? It's not until we're placed in a foreign environment that we notice our own culture, because we see we're forced to do things that we normally don't do.
Right.
So that's why it's so blinding, because it's who we are and what we are. It's hard to see that.
Right. No, I totally agree. Like I said, I just never thought about it in the way you said it. Tradition can be blinding because Black culture in America, that's what we know. That's who we are. That's why we are. And we express ourselves the way we express ourselves because of everything that has happened to us and brought us to where we are today right now. Right. And so, like you said, placed in a foreign environment, we're forced to look at ourselves and look at how we behave and how we interact with the outside world. And when you're not placed in those environments, you never have that self-reflection in that specific manner. So without that self-reflection, you do have the blinders on. You can't see outside of what you know, because outside of what you know don't really exist. Case in point, before social media, you're in Indianapolis, Indiana, correct?
Correct.
I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. So before social media, the only thing I knew about Indianapolis, Indiana was Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, Jalen Rose, Mark Jackson, and the Indianapolis Colts, and I knew the Indy 500. But in my mind, Indianapolis was like this Midwest place that don't really have a lot of big buildings and all, just plains.
Yeah.
Just plains in my mind. But now through social media, because my horizon has been expanded, I can see, that's a city. Like, that's a city. Like, you can put my city in your city, and my city will be a little part of your city. Yeah. So, but it's an example of being able to be expanded and see beyond your culture and beyond your traditions, because just because it's a tradition doesn't mean that it's healthy.
Facts. And that's what people get it confused. The same thing. When I like to think of that, like you would think about propaganda too. People think that just because it can be used negatively, that it's bad, or that to be conditioned or socialized is bad. No, that's just the way. That's the way our brains work. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And it's
No,
our job to analyze it and see, hey, should we keep this part of it or should we let it go?
but
But
no, but that is perfect because it goes to what one of the things I've been able to talk about reading this book, Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome, is the programming, because humans are programmed to be socialized in the societies that we exist in.
facts.
And whatever it takes to survive or thrive in those societies, we will adapt. Matter of fact, animals do that. All beings, everything that's alive on this planet Earth adapts to its environment to survive and or thrive. So there's a specific programming that all living things have. We're just higher conscious beings. And so we have a greater level of understanding of what's going on around us. But that doesn't mean we understand the programming that's given to us. But that goes into what we consume via media and our community, the imagery, and what we see as Black people.
Yep, I agree. And I think a great example is, I don't know if it was a formal study done on this, but it doesn't matter where the people are from. If you take any group of people from any country and stick them in another country, those people will stick together greater than the native people from wherever they were from.
Yeah.
And it's because you're forced
Yes.
to deal with a foreign country.
Yes.
But since
Yes.
y'all already have a commonality, y'all work together to do whatever it is you need to do.
Well, that makes perfect sense, and that's a great explanation that can lead to a very good understanding of why, the example we see or we use the most is how the Hispanic community comes and sticks together. But
I wanted to say one more thing, not to cut you before I forget, was that to me, it shows that means the conditioning of this society teaches us to hate each other, teaches us to hate Black people. Because you remove us, any Black people, we go somewhere else, we'll love each other and support each other.
So that gets into my next question I have for you. Growing up, did you experience self-hatred? And if so, how did you learn to grow beyond the self-hatred?
No, thank God I never had to grow up thinking that a white person was better than me. I ain't never been in no class where a white dude was smarter than me. I never had parents or extended family tell me that white people were better than Black people. So thank God I never had that. But what I will admit to is that I've had several family members tell me, don't be like them Africans. Now that I have experienced.
Yeah.
But as far as Black and white or Hispanic Black, no. But as far as associating anything positive with African, it was always negative.
So I didn't experience self-hate as far as my skin color. I went through growing up, I got real nappy hair, but I love it though. I love it now. But growing up, it took a lot to learn to love my hair, because I got picked on about my hair all the time. And so one, I had to learn how to get tough. Two, I had to learn how to love my hair. And three, I had to learn how to get better at my jokes. All those things. I had to get it. But the second point, learning to love my hair at an early age. By the time I got to middle school, I was okay with the texture of my hair. Matter of fact, I had to grew my hair out. I got locks and plaits and braids and stuff in my hair at this point.
Okay, so sorry. So now that you bring that up, sorry, I'm always thinking intellectually, so I'm thinking that part of, but the hair thing, yes. Most of my life I was bald because my hair was always nappy, and females in your family, females not in your family would dog you out about that. So I was very self-conscious about it. But now you see, I grew my hair out too, because I love it being nappy. So yes, that yes, but I experienced that as well.
So part of the narrative though is men don't really go through especially Black men don't feel the same about their hair as Black women. And that's not true.
Yeah,
it's not true. I don't, I can't do a hairline now, but let me have a good hairline and my hairline get pushed back, or my barber messed me up, or something can't grow. Like we have the same self-consciousness about our hair that Black women do, because people keep forgetting black men suffered beside the black women. Black
Yep,
men were
right next to it.
traumatized beside the black women. We wasn't somewhere else. We were together being traumatized. Now, did we suffer different types of trauma?
Yes.
Yeah. But we were side by side suffering the trauma together.
Facts.
So,
Facts. And we do. That's true, because we're influenced the same way a black woman will be like, well, we get our hair straightened and permed for black men. Well, we over here brushing, trying to get waves for y'all because I
Right.
couldn't get them. That's why I was self-conscious. I couldn't get the waves.
right.
So I would cut my hair off. I was bald.
Yeah. I had no chance at getting waves. I
Me
knew that,
neither.
you know, but it's how we view ourselves. Also, the media imagery.
Mhm.
The media imagery, but communal imagery as well. That's one of the things that we grossly overlook. So I do want to talk about the communal influences, but I want to start with media influences because that's the one we know more about. So let's start there, then move into the communal. But starting with, Birth of a Nation in the early 1900s with the imagery that they had, but even before that, within the newspapers.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Coon Chicken Inn?
Nah, I never heard of that. What's that one?
Coon Chicken Inn was an actual hotel. If you look up the Coon Chicken Inn, and I'll try to pull up the image, but you look up the Coon Chicken Inn and the big exaggerated minstrel face and everything, and it was like a hotel, diners. It was businesses named Coon Chicken this and Coon Chicken that. But like that minstrel face, like, so that's some of the imagery that black people were seeing, all of the newspapers. And then when it came out in the cinema and on the TVs, we only saw negative images of ourselves. Now, one of the things that was different then, it was more positive black images in the communities. Not saying negative black images or negative black people didn't exist, because we got to understand the trauma that has been happening. So even at that time, black people were still looking down on ourselves, and still everything that's happening to us now was happening then. It was just in a different form and a lot more aggressive, you know? So we come to today where black people have more control over the images that we would want to put out, but we put out the same things, same negative images that the white people put out. And I believe that is due to programming. But what are your thoughts on like the evolution of media, the evolution of black people in media, it coming to this day where we have control, but we're still putting out the same images?
I think it's because we live in a capitalistic country where we're paid to denigrate ourselves because they fit a narrative that white people benefit from psychologically and materially. So they've convinced black people that the highest thing they can aspire to is to get the bag. So they'll do anything to get the bag. So if I'm getting paid, if whites or large corporations are paying people to kill somebody on film or kill somebody in the audio track, that's what black people are going to do because they're trying to get the bag. They're not thinking about how these images are shipped all around the world, and it impacts not only how other people view us, but how we come to view ourselves as well. So that's why we're caught in this trap of trying to get the bag and doing whatever they think is profitable now. And it's profitable to denigrate black people. So that's what I think.
No,
Because go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say that's a great point.
Because so I started doing music in 2016 in my high school classes, and I would ask the students, why do you rap about killing people if you've never had a gun or did any of that? And it was because they basically says because they wanted the bag. So I was like, so can you be your authentic self then? Do you think these other rappers are being authentically who they are? And they were like, no. Nobody is.
It's the colonized mind Dr. Amos Wilson talks about in his lectures. The programming. He at the end of one of his clips, he says the nature of the white supremacist to the African is the same as the nature of Count Dracula to his victims. I'm going to attack you, terrorize you, but I'm also going to drain the life out of you, and I can reprogram you to be one of me as well. and then you will exist the way I tell you to exist, because he was basically getting at that foreign consciousness being put into our mind, that white consciousness being put into our mind. So everything we do is for white validation. So
Facts.
definitely gonna go and try to get that bag. Why not try to go get that bag? Because if I could go get that bag, I can get out of this hood around all these people who look like me, who we already feel inferior about each other. So why would I want to be around inferior people? I want to be around superior people so I can feel better.
Yeah.
But when I get around these people, it remind me of how inferior I am. But that's still better than being with those other inferior people who look like me. That's the program.
That's the programming. Facts.
Yeah, man. So it's fascinating to me. Ever since I read The Miseducation of the Negro.
That's what I was gonna bring up, because he said the same thing Amos said.
Yeah. But you know, the part when he was talking about if there is no back door, the black person will go create the back door. Like basically you being socialized to know your place. And whether we want to admit it or not, we know our place. So now let's get to communal influences. Let's get the negative communal influences. But I want to go from experience to the impact of it. So growing up, what type of environment did you grow up in?
I grew up with my mom and my stepdad and my little brother, and then my extended family. I had I had 4 uncles I grew up with, my grandparents. So I was always around my uncles, grandparents, and my mom, stepdad, and my brother.
Okay. What about the community?
Work every day. The community, we was a part of a church. Okay. When I didn't go to church with my grandparents, we had a church on the corner that we attended. Me and my brother would walk to the church. We walked to school. So that's how the community was for us.
Okay. So how do you believe your family and your community positively affected your self-image growing up?
I always saw Black people going to work, coming home, taking care of their kids. We always had block parties, so I always got to see Black families with both the parents and the kids playing outside, even the single mothers and their kids. Matter of fact, that wasn't even a term I used until now, because it sounded weird coming out of my mouth, because I'm thinking about some of the kids in the neighborhood that I grew up with. It was just them and the mom, but they still participated in all the activities on the block. So it was no separation really. But yeah, those were a lot of the influence I had. People at the church, people on the block. They had the numbers of my parents. If they saw, because I remember vividly me being silly in the mall, and somebody from the church saw me and like smacked me in the back of my head, was like, "Boy, you better act right." And by the time I got home, my mama knew about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you was acting silly in the mall, wasn't you, Rodney? I was like, yeah.
That's great though. You grew up in the true village. Of people who nurtured you. Yeah. That's cool. So growing up, my parents divorced when I was 5. So I don't have more than maybe, I think I only have one memory of my mom and my dad actually being together.
Okay.
So I remember, I have memories of times when my family was together and my mom and dad was together, but actual memories of my mom and my dad together, I only have really one. And that was, I was maybe 3 years old. They were wrapping Christmas gifts one year. That's about the only thing I can remember from my parents actually being together. They split up, but my parents were adult enough and mature enough to maintain a positive relationship, a healthy relationship. So I don't have anything negative to say about my mom. I don't have anything negative to say about my dad. Now I'm an adult. I realize that they are human.
Right.
So, you know, the invincibility comes down, but you realize they're human. But I am thankful for my parents.
Yeah.
I tell my mom and my dad every day, I'm glad you my mom. I'm glad you my daddy.
Me too, man. You know? More people need to do that. I agree.
Right. Because, you know, we often don't realize the quality of parenting until we get to experience, like we talked about, like you talked about the traditions being blinded. We often don't realize the quality of our parenting until we experience significantly less quality parenting and the outcome of it. And so as time went on in our house, my uncle came to stay. He lived with us and 2 cousins and 3 older Black men in the house. And, you know, they were not, well, my uncle was, but my cousins were not adults. They were college age, but they were the toughness that me and my brother needed. So that I say that aspect. And then my dad was a part of the principles and the values and the intellectual structure, the intellectual foundation. And then other men in the community, not in the immediate, because the immediate community was the hood. We lived down the street from the projects. So crackheads, all type of hood stuff. You know, we'll be outside, people running through the yard because they running from the police chasing behind them, stuff like that we see. But the inside the house, the culture was strong, and our cousins and my uncle wasn't going to allow us to do anything bad. And we knew, because we Inez and Wallace's sons. So everybody know Inez and Wallace. I'm like, dang, why y'all know so many people? Y'all talk too much. But I never, ever wanted to be anybody else. I always was proud to be me. And that's one thing I do credit my parents for. I remember growing up and it was pictures of African people all around our houses. Like, though, you remember those Budweiser African King post things, we had those, and just other historical things. So being able to see images of Black people and being around Black people, living in a college town where intelligent, intellectual Black people are, I felt good about being Black, but at the same time, being in the hood, I didn't think I would live past 21.
Wow. Really? Right. You really thought that?
Because we got told that Black boys die at 21 so much. And I know I'm in the hood. So I knew it was a great likelihood that I don't see 21.
Wow. Okay.
So, but that's the importance of a solid community. Like, because once again, I love that you talk about building solid family units and how solid family units create solid communities and solid communities create solid societies. Because the breakdown of the family, we can see, led to some of the breakdown in the community around us.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that leads to self-image, though. How do you explain self-image to your students?
I would just say the way you view yourself.
Okay.
How you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself.
Okay. And have you had a chance to have that conversation with your students and ask them how they view themselves, how they feel about themselves?
No, not yet. I have not.
What if you ask them, what do you think they would tell you?
I don't know would be the first answer. And then I would have to come up with some probing questions.
Yeah.
I don't know is the favorite answer for everything.
Yeah.
But I think after a while, you know what? I don't know that I'm gonna do it tomorrow just to see what they say.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what they would say. And I've never asked that question. So, but I am, because that's an interesting question that they need to think about.
So I want to ask you that question at this stage of your life, accomplishing everything that you have, learning everything that you have, being able to grow. How do you see yourself?
I see myself as a good person that's trying to improve himself, his family, and his community. That's how I view myself. It's just somebody that's always looking to improve my family and community.
Because I see myself in the same vein. I see myself as very capable. I believe I have the ability to create the world that I really want and do the things that I've always wanted to do. I believe that now. My self-esteem wasn't that good. Like, I loved being Black. I loved who I was, but I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe I could.
Okay.
And I didn't believe I could because I didn't see that I could. I didn't see any. T-Pain was the first person from Tallahassee that I saw, like in the sphere out there, that wasn't an athlete who made it from Tallahassee.
Got you. Okay.
You know, because like it's a college town, but all these successful academic people we don't see.
Right. That's true.
So if it's not an athlete, who else we seeing? Because at that time, nobody else had really came out of Tallahassee who had like really made it big other than athletes. So now, okay, T-Pain. But then we start to learn about other people, because people who may have went to FAMU, or people who may have grown up in Tallahassee. Stickman from the Dead Prez, I think he's from Woodville, right down the street. It's still Tallahassee, but
okay,
still in the entertainment sphere though.
Right.
So we're thinking, okay, we're not entertainers. We thought we were going to be athletes, but that didn't turn out. That didn't work out. So how am I going to make it? What am I going to be? Who am I going to become? What will my future be like? Like, I was lost. I had no idea what I was going to do with myself, where I was going to be. But the only thing I knew is I can't end up in this homeless shelter, but I have no idea what I want to do and what I want to be in life. Because I mean, sports is over, because that's all I ever wanted to be, was in the NFL. So now that's over. What next?
Yeah, that's the exact thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna make it to the NBA. All my life I played basketball, and then it's over, and you like, what's next? So I joined the Army, because I was like, I ain't about to sit on my mama's couch.
Yeah.
So I joined the Army.
Yeah.
But then when I got out, I got a master's degree, and then I got into teaching shortly after that. But yeah, I was like, I'm not about to sit and do nothing. It's over for that.
Yeah, I went to college. I went to FAMU. Because, and I tell people this all the time, and I say it, but it's really all I knew. It's all I could think of. But now, as I'm older and I go through situations that may be similar, and you know, when life starts lifing, now I know how to better deal with it. But at that time, my mind was so closed off, the blinders was so far on me because the traditions and things, that I really only believe I only had two choices: college or the dope game. I really only believe that. But then now when life happens, I know how to calm down, slow down, and think. That's when the solutions start to come.
True.
Rather than when you, because also in the book Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, she's talking about when, like, the cortisol levels, like Black people who experience a lot of stress in their environment, especially like within the womb and outside of the womb, just in the environments, the cortisol levels are so high. And over time, you get so much cortisol that these are the people who are 0 to 60. They cannot control themselves. They cannot make rational decisions while they're angry because of the cortisol levels.
But this is why the next time we talk, I wanted to talk about child abuse and hitting children, because that's what they're saying, that their fight or flight is off because they're so stressed. They think they're always being attacked, and you know, that's one of the consequences of hitting young kids.
Right.
So I totally agree with you, because to me that leads to a lot of murders too. Because if you give a lot of people who stressed out guns and they scared, they're gonna shoot.
Yep.
That's scary.
Yeah, and that leads to the vacant esteem, where there's no esteem at all. And if there's no esteem, if I don't have any esteem for me and no esteem for you, I have no problem taking you out.
Facts, no problem.
But think of that. That made me think about the hood movies that we grew up watching. That's what the hood movies was teaching us and conditioning us to look at ourselves as something that has no value. So it's easy for me to murder you, because we think about it. Black people know unconsciously and consciously, we know the consequences of doing something to a white person versus the consequences of doing something to a Black person.
Facts. Facts.
But that goes into value.
Yes, it does. And that the conditioning of the conditioning of accepting the I don't give a F attitude. Really, that's I don't give a F about black people. Because like you said, if it's a white person, now I care. I know what's about to happen. I'm not going to take another step.
Right.
But if it's a black person, we continue on to probably murder. But if it's a white person, we know, oh, no, we can't do that.
Exactly.
That's the conditioning.
I took it right out of my mouth. There it is. And with no real esteem, with no esteem at all, basically. No. And I tell people we have vacant self-esteem and a vacant collective esteem.
Yeah, for real.
You know, because we don't talk about our collective esteem and how it doesn't exist or the lack of it. Because think about the environments that predominantly black environments, for the most part, you know, when you're in predominantly black environment, because it looks like the hood. Not 100% of them, not all black communities, not all black environments, but too many of them. And usually, no matter the city you go, most hoods look the same. Most southern hoods look the same. Most northern hoods look the same.
And they talk the same. They act the same. It's very similar. Like I've lived in so many places. I've lived in San Antonio, Houston, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and everybody says the same thing. Like, I got to get out of here. I can't stay here.
Yeah.
Like, I lived in LA. Like those people say the same things. I'm like, don't y'all get it? It's this society, it's this environment doing this to us. We're saying the same things all over the country. So let's try to do something about it instead of fighting each other.
Right. But until we get enough people that has the change of programming, that paradigm shift. But that's why you are so important. That's why you are so important as an educator, being in that middle school, because those are critical years. Those middle school years, because you know they can make or break a child's esteem right there in that middle school.
Yeah.
Right. So being able to have you as a teacher and you instill the positivity into the students and teach them how to critically think for themselves, because that's one of the things that I love about it too. You're helping them learn how to think for themselves and solve their own problems.
Yeah.
But understand how the world sees them, and you don't have to adhere to what the world says about you.
Right.
Look at our history. There's so many black people who defied the odds because they had the belief within them. But some of that, if you read their stories, they had good parents too. A lot of that, they had great parents. So
that's true.
So I want to read this excerpt from Dr. Joy DeGrew's book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and chapter 4, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And this is page 126, the first paragraph. So she says, society contributes to the formation of vacant esteem in a number of ways, through its laws, institutions, and policies, as well as through the media. African Americans have been and continue to be disproportionately represented in our penal institutions. African Americans often live in neighborhoods where schools are functionally segregated and lack adequate revenue to sustain them. In African American communities, banks charge higher interest rates on home and auto loans, as well as make it more difficult for African Americans to get small business loans. The media contributes to vacant esteem's formation by frequently displaying African Americans as criminals, disadvantaged, academically deficient, and sexually irresponsible. All these and more serve to influence how African Americans preserve themselves and so impact their assessment of their own self-worth.
Man, facts.
Powerful.
All feed into each other, which is why the school, I think the school plays a major part in this, because everything's taught disjointedly. Nothing makes sense to them. Like they're in science, learning science. Then they go to a history. The science doesn't match up with the history. The history doesn't match up with the math. Like they're like, that's why I don't like school. And they don't. It's more about what they leave out, which leaves their mind so disjointed, so that by the time they're adults, yeah, they've learned all this random stuff, but since none of it connects, it doesn't stick. So a lot of times it's not their fault, which leaves them susceptible to the media because the media makes sense to them. It makes sense to anybody that watches the media because it all has the same idea. Black people, bad, dumb criminals. White people are the saviors. And that stays consistent. But the school is disjointed and all over the place. So it's hard for them to connect to the school stuff. But it's real easy for them to pick up this media and pick up the messaging within it. So all of this really screws us over with the laws and the policies, because since they wasn't taught history that connects, they don't understand what they're going through and what they should change once they get out. They don't understand that people have been organizing against this stuff because it's not taught in the way in school that they get it, that young people are at the forefront of this. So you know what I mean? So it's hard for us to get out of this cycle that she eloquently put out.
Right. The disconnectedness between the family, the community, and the school.
Yeah.
It is hurting our children tremendously because it's 3 different messages, 3 different environments, 3 different ways of living, 3 different ways of thinking. Like the schools are not, for the most part, schools are not even teaching our children how to think for themselves. They're teaching our children what to think.
Yes.
The community is teaching our children to degrade themselves and be the worst version of Black that you can be.
Yeah.
And the families are trying to survive.
Yes. Facts.
So that's unfertile soil. Because we're continuously planting seeds and unfertile soil and complaining about the harvest.
Yes. I agree with you right there. What I say that a lot of people, I think other people have said this, but like in my immediate area, people disagree with me on this, but we're not in charge of the schools, but we are in charge of our local churches. So when I suggest we have reading programs for the kids that's in the churches, people look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, how could y'all think this is crazy?
Right.
When it's y'all's kids, you got teachers in the congregation. Like this seems like a no-brainer to me. But people look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, this is a simple solution. Like we can easily control this.
It's too much like right. And I believe a lot of times people think about the work that they have to do in that and what they don't want to do and how they don't want to contribute to it. Because like you were saying, a reading program, children need reading programs. Like one of the reasons why I do the readings on Mondays is because I understand the power of reading. I understand the information that you can find in books. Reading these books is helping me have a better understanding of everything that's happening around me.
Yeah.
Same thing needs to happen for the children, but also it helps to build their imagination. It helps to build their vocabulary, their critical thinking, the thought process, all those mental exercises that children need. They get to do that while they read. You get the right book and that book take you somewhere. You are literally, you feel like you're watching a movie and you're reading a book.
Yes. And kids that read books that they go on to make movies always say the book was better.
Yes.
Even adults do.
Yes.
Because it always is. You can't fit it in visually. It's not enough time.
Right. Right. But it's like the expansion of that child's mind should be one of our highest priorities, creating the best human beings that we can from our society. Like when I'm working with college students, even though I'm not their exact professor, I take it serious because I know I'm having an impact on their future.
Right. And
so what I'm saying to them, how I'm saying to it, why I'm saying to it, explaining different things, being able to teach and all these things, to me, it's imperative that I put my best foot forward, but I be a great example as well as be a great teacher. So they can learn something, they can be positively impacted. They can at least say, at least Mr. Joseph helped me. At least Mr. Joseph was a positive impact. Like today, one of the chicken spots around from the job is a young man. He worked there and I've noticed he go to FAMU. So today I asked him, well, what do you do? What's your major and everything? So he's a young man who's a music major and he wants to do music therapy. Well, Florida State has a music therapy program, and I just so happen to know the lady who over the music therapy program. Well, guess what? I'm finna hook Buddy up with her, so he can have a path to do music therapy. Simple. But we make it so hard. But that's because of vacant esteem. That's a result of the negative program, the negative conditioning through one of the vehicles, that's the media, but also through the communities.
Yeah, that sounds similar. Was that you talking about the people who would take the different salaries?
Yes.
The person said they would choose the 50,000 just because they would be the one making the most. And 25.
So
that goes to what you was just talking about.
Yeah. So I was scrolling, and the guy was that's the video I came across, and the guy was explaining it. So, would you rather make $100,000 a year and everybody else around you make $200,000, or you make $50,000 and everybody else around you make $20,000? The majority of the people that they polled chose the 50,000, and everybody else make 20,000. That was a no-brainer for me.
That's a no-brainer.
It's ridiculous, but that also goes into the vacant esteem that a lot of people have, and the way we see each other.
Yes.
And this doesn't matter about color, but especially with us, because we know a lot of Black people would take the 50,000 so they can make more than other people. You know what? I want everybody to win. I'm always trying to create win-win situations. I'm good with my 100,000. You get me? If I make 100,000 right now, I'm good.
Me too.
I don't care that y'all make 200,000. Because guess what? I got a brand, and I know how to grow this.
And it's less likely somebody in my neighborhood gonna rob me if all of us making 200 and I'm making 100.
And guess what? If everybody else around me making 200, they can help me make 200.
Exactly.
So, and because we all good, and everybody need to be able to eat and live and win together. That's why I always use, and I close with this before we get to the video. I always use my ant analogy. A single ant against a praying mantis will get destroyed. But
the army,
a colony of fire ants on the praying mantis, it's over. It's over until we get to that point. We're going to continue to lose as individuals. But one of the reasons that we're not at that point is because of how we've learned to see ourselves.
I agree.
So, man, once again, man, another great conversation with you. Another great build. Black Family Institute's the YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. But this time, we're going to leave y'all on a positive note with some positive, influential music by my brother Heavy Hooks, the one and only. And he has a special guest. And this is Heavy Kites, and Heavy Kites and the Take Flight. And the song is Mental Space, correct?
Yeah, Mental Space is the first song on the album. This is me, one of my former high school students. And we created this project to put something positive out. If you go through all the tracks, it has positive stuff about Black love, treating each other right. Everybody should love it. It's great beats. Again, this is Heavy Kites, Heavy Hooks, and this is Mental Space.
There you go, Black Family Institute. Y'all know how to support me. It's in the description. Let's do this.
Let me in, free you from your Ross out of bed, problems underway, and your boss just called, said you couldn't stay. That's a bad day, enough to make it cry. But I got the shoulder for head to lay, so come here, babe. Let me illustrate our happiness I just generate and live your day. When your hair hurt and start to spin, just fit me in. Like a Tylenol, see the minifin. Killing pain like I'm Slender Man. Make it drowsy like a denizen. I keep it low like 2 degrees. I'm real discreet, not a sneaky lane, but real low key. I'm asking questions that no one does. What's up with rain that's from above? And why these fools all fall in love? I only get love when giving love. It's even harder to gain my trust. So it's best we both open up, but I know it's tough. Let me in mental space, knock down every wall, free you from your cage, give you fantasies so you can escape. Like a little bird, I'm gonna make you sing. Ooh, let me in mental space, knock down every wall, free you from your cage, give you fantasies so you can escape. Like a little bird, I'm gonna make you sing. Ooh, let me in mental space. Let me in mental space. Let me in mental space. Kite, take flight. Let me in mental space. You tell me all your goals, I tell you all of mine. We smoke like all the time, but are you feeling high? It's all gonna be just fine. It's all gonna be just fine. Like, yeah, it's getting tough. This week was really rough. I had to double up. That pay was not enough. Yeah, I smoked sticky stuff, and it costs way above what you pay, what you say. Don't be down, yeah, fix your face. Let me in your mental space. Let me hear your thought pattern. We could go so out of space. Leave Earth and hit Saturn. Ooh, let me in mental space. Let me in mental space. Let me in mental space.
Man, thanks for playing that, man. I hope y'all go check out the album.
That's jamming, man. I put that in the car earlier because I like, man, I got to ride to this in the car. I was like, yeah, man. You keep doing your thing, bro.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all know what to do. We'll see y'all next video.
Yep.